I'll be going on home now. I'll have the supper ready for you.
The Quiet Man may look like a peaceful Irish romance, but behind its green hills and warm colors was a much rougher story. A dangerous fight scene pushed its stars hard. John Ford clashed with his cast, and Republic Pictures risked a fortune to film in Ireland. Today, we're uncovering 20 weird facts you probably never knew about The Quiet Man, from real locations and vivid colors to hidden tensions behind one of Hollywood's most beloved classics. 20. Maureen O'Hara's red hair was completely natural. Maureen O'Hara's red hair was not a studio trick, a dye job, or a clever camera effect. It was completely natural, and in The Quiet Man, it became almost as memorable as the Irish countryside itself. The moment she appears as Mary-Kate Danaher, her red hair cuts through the gray skies, stone cottages, and endless green fields. She does not blend into the background. She owns it. John Ford knew what he had in O'Hara. Her hair gave Mary-Kate a visual spark that matched the character's stubborn heart. Mary-Kate was not written as a quiet, fragile woman waiting to be rescued. She was proud, sharp-tongued, passionate, and impossible to push around. That fiery hair made every glare, every argument, and every emotional moment hit even harder. Cinematographer Winton C. Hook used Technicolor to make those colors feel larger than life. The green grass looked richer, the skies looked moodier, and O'Hara's red hair seemed to glow against it all. It created a striking image that audiences never forgot. What made it even better was that O'Hara did not need to force the effect. Her natural look already carried the power. Mary-Kate entered each scene like a storm waiting to break, and that red hair warned everyone what was coming. Her red hair helped make Ireland look like a dream. Yet the man behind that dream had been chasing something far more personal for years. This next fact reveals the passion project he refused to abandon. 19. The director had never been to Ireland. John Ford didn't make The Quiet Man just because Ireland looked good on camera. He kinda saw it as more personal than that, you know. Ford was born in Maine, but his parents were Irish immigrants, so he grew up with Ireland in the air. Lots of stories, old recollections, family pride, music, and the sense of a homeland he only truly knew through imagination. To him, Ireland wasn't just a place you visit. It became part of his identity, like deeply in his bones. For years, Ford kept wanting to do a big picture there. He had the story, and he had the dream. But at first, he lacked the kind of freedom that lets you shape things exactly how you want. Hollywood studios had their own plans, their own budgets, and their own doubts. Ford waited until he had enough pull to push for genuine Irish settings, color, cinematography, and a production that felt broader than one simple studio love story. When the shooting finally started, Ford wasn't only directing actors through the scenes. He was stepping into the same countryside his family had carried with them, across the Atlantic. The villages, the fields, the cottages, and the shifting skies gave him something no soundstage ever could. Every frame felt like it was tied to that dream he had kept for decades. That's also why The Quiet Man lands so quietly, but still deeply. Ford wasn't just letting audiences see Ireland. He was showing them the Ireland he'd been trying to find all along. 18. Actor was born in Austria, not America or Ireland. One strange rumor that occasionally appears about The Quiet Man is that one of its major stars was born in Austria. That is not true. Maureen O'Hara was born in Dublin, Ireland, while John Wayne was born in Iowa and raised in America. Yet despite their different backgrounds, both actors came together to create one of the most beloved romances in film history. What made the cast especially unique was the blend of Hollywood star power and genuine Irish talent. John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara brought international fame to the project, but they were surrounded by Irish actors, Abbey theatre performers, and local residents who understood the culture firsthand. Many of these performers did not need to act Irish because they were Irish. Their accents, mannerisms, humor, and traditions came naturally. That combination created something rare. The film had the polish and scale of a major Hollywood production, yet it never felt completely manufactured. The villagers, townspeople, and supporting characters added a sense of authenticity that could not be recreated on a studio backlot. Their presence grounded the story and made the fictional world feel alive. The result was a film that existed between two worlds. It had the romance and spectacle audiences expected from Hollywood, but it also carried the rhythm, warmth, and personality of real Irish life, giving The Quiet Man its unforgettable charm. 17. They filmed in the original village. Many viewers kind of assume that Innisfree, the village in The Quiet Man, is some real spot you can pin down on a map. But weirdly enough, it isn't. Innisfree is fictional, no question. Still, the village of Cong in County Mayo somehow became the real-world face of that adored setting, and it stays linked to the film forever. More than 70 years on, lots of people still travel to Cong, not just to look around, but because they want to step into the world they saw on screen. John Ford and his crew used real locations across the area to get that feeling of a living, breathing Irish community. Cong Abbey, winding village roads, stone cottages, old bridges, rivers, and that rolling countryside vibe all ended up as part of the film's visual identity. Nothing came off as fake. Instead of constructing elaborate sets, the production basically let the natural beauty of Western Ireland do the heavy lifting. And honestly, it became one of the movie's biggest stars. And the locals, they mattered too. Residents would watch filming, jump in as extras, and help shape that warm, easy atmosphere that made the village feel genuine. Their presence gave several scenes an energy that, in Hollywood terms, would be hard to replicate. So what started as a quiet Irish village turned into a piece of cinema history overnight. Thanks to The Quiet Man, Cong moved from a small rural community into one of the most recognizable film locations in Ireland, drawing visitors from all over the globe year after year. 16. The famous fight scene almost seriously hurt both actors. One of the most famous moments in The Quiet Man is the massive fight between Sean Thornton and Red Will Danaher. Even today, it stands as one of the longest and most entertaining fight scenes in classic Hollywood history. What begins as a simple confrontation turns into an unforgettable battle that stretches across roads, fields, fences, streams, and even entire sections of the countryside. While the scene is remembered for its humor, filming it was no laughing matter. John Wayne and Victor McLaglen spent days performing demanding physical action. They threw punches, wrestled, stumbled through mud, splashed through water, and marched across long outdoor locations. The sequence required careful timing because a mistake could easily lead to injury. Every fall had to look convincing. Every hit had to appear real without causing serious harm. What audiences often miss is the sheer exhaustion behind the performance. The actors repeated portions of the fight again and again from different camera angles. They worked under changing weather conditions and rough terrain that made every movement harder. By the end, both men were physically drained. That effort is a big reason the scene still works today. It feels authentic because the fatigue, frustration, and determination visible on screen were not entirely acting. Much of it came from the demanding reality of filming it. 15. The weather was real, not controlled. One reason The Quiet Man feels so authentic is that Ireland's weather was not really treated like an obstacle. It became part of the movie itself. You can actually feel it there. Rather than perfectly controlled studio conditions, the production sort of embraced cloudy skies, damp roads, wet fields, and those sudden changes in light that show up out of nowhere. Those natural bits gave the film a texture. And yeah, it would have been difficult to recreate on a Hollywood set. The frequent overcast skies turned out to be a bit of a quiet advantage. Instead of washing out the scenery, the soft light helped build that rich, romantic look, the one audiences still admire today. The green countryside seemed deeper and more vibrant, while the villages and stone cottages felt warm and timeless too. It was like everything got wrapped in a gentle glow, so the landscape ended up almost dreamlike even when it was plain and ordinary. Of course, filming outdoors meant dealing with constant surprises. A bright morning could quickly turn cloudy, and then the whole day acts different. Rain might show up without warning, or with a strange timing. The cast and crew often had to adapt to the shifting conditions while still keeping the story moving forward. But those unpredictable moments added realism, because they weren't forced or smoothed out too much. Instead of fighting nature, John Ford let it shape the movie. The result was a world that felt alive, where the weather seemed as much a character as the people themselves. And somehow, it all just clicks. 14. John Ford used rare infrared camera techniques. Many people believe The Quiet Man achieved its unforgettable look through some mysterious camera trick. In reality, the film's breathtaking appearance came from the work of cinematographer Winton C. Hoch and the power of Technicolor photography. Instead of relying on unusual infrared techniques, Hoch carefully used color, light, and composition to create images that felt larger than life. The results were extraordinary. The green hills seemed richer than ordinary grass. The red tones, especially Maureen O'Hara's famous hair, appeared to glow against the countryside. Rivers sparkled, cottages stood out sharply, and even cloudy skies carried a dramatic beauty. The film often feels less like a recording of reality and more like a vivid memory or a painted dream. This visual approach was completely intentional. John Ford did not want Ireland to look plain or ordinary. He wanted audiences to see the country through the eyes of nostalgia, romance, and imagination. Every frame was designed to evoke emotion rather than strict realism. Not everyone immediately understood the choice. Some viewers felt the colors looked almost too beautiful to be real. They thought the landscapes appeared exaggerated or idealized. Yet that bold visual style became one of the film's greatest strengths, helping transform The Quiet Man into one of the most visually memorable classics ever made. 13. Maureen O'Hara insisted on authentic Irish costumes. For Maureen O'Hara, The Quiet Man was more than another acting role. As a woman born and raised in Dublin, she felt a strong personal connection to the story and wanted Mary-Kate Danaher to feel like a genuine Irish woman. She did not want the character reduced to a Hollywood stereotype. Instead, she worked to bring real personality, pride, and cultural authenticity to every scene. O'Hara understood the traditions, humor, and spirit of Irish life in a way few actresses could. That knowledge influenced how she approached the character. Her speech, reactions, and mannerisms reflected someone who belonged in that world. She helped ensure that Mary-Kate felt rooted in the community, rather than appearing like an outsider, dropped into the setting. The production also paid close attention to details that strengthened the film's Irish identity. Costumes, village locations, local customs, and everyday interactions were all designed to feel believable. These elements helped create a world that audiences could easily accept as real. O'Hara's presence gave the movie an extra layer of credibility. Viewers may not have known exactly why the film felt authentic, but they could sense it. Her understanding of the culture added depth to the performance and helped make Mary-Kate one of the most memorable characters in classic cinema. 12. Wayne and O'Hara's beliefs complicated things. Part of what makes the romance in The Quiet Man so memorable is the contrast between its two stars. John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara were talented performers, but they approached their work in very different ways. Those differences created a natural tension that added depth to nearly every scene they shared. Wayne was often seen as calm, steady, and methodical. He preferred a straightforward approach and relied on careful preparation. O'Hara, on the other hand, was known for her fiery personality, quick wit, and willingness to speak her mind. She was confident, outspoken, and never afraid to challenge ideas she disagreed with. Their styles were different, yet they somehow fit together perfectly. That contrast became one of the film's greatest strengths. Sean Thornton and Mary-Kate Danaher are not characters who simply fall in love without resistance. They argue, they challenge one another, they push each other's patience and pride. Because Wayne and O'Hara naturally projected different energies, those moments felt genuine rather than staged. The audience believes these characters are strong individuals because the actors themselves brought strong personalities into their performances. Every conversation carries a little spark. Every disagreement feels meaningful. That balance between Wayne's quiet restraint and O'Hara's passionate intensity helped create one of the most enduring screen pairings in classic Hollywood history. 11. John Ford waited decades to film Ireland. Most directors find a story they love and rush to bring it to the screen as quickly as possible. John Ford did the exact opposite with The Quiet Man. After reading Maurice Walsh's story during the 1930s, Ford immediately recognized its potential. He secured the rights, but instead of moving straight into production, he chose to wait. That decision would stretch into nearly 2 decades. The delay was not caused by a lack of interest. In fact, Ford cared so much about the project that he refused to compromise. He wanted the right leading actors. He wanted enough resources to make the film look exactly as he imagined. Most importantly, he wanted the opportunity to shoot in Ireland rather than settle for a cheaper studio version somewhere else. Year after year, Ford held on to the story. Studios came and went. Film technology improved. His reputation grew stronger. Eventually, he gained enough influence to push the project forward on his own terms. By then, everything had finally aligned. Looking back, that long wait reveals how deeply Ford believed in the material. He saw something special in the story and protected it until the conditions were right. Instead of accepting a lesser version, he remained patient. That patience helped transform The Quiet Man into a film remembered decades after its release. Ford waited nearly 2 decades to protect the story. This next fact shows the physical effort behind one of the movie's strongest performances. 10. O'Hara performed many stunts herself. When people think about The Quiet Man, they often remember John Wayne's presence, the beautiful Irish scenery, or the romance at the center of the story. What is sometimes overlooked is just how physically demanding the film was for Maureen O'Hara. Throughout production, she spent countless hours running across fields, climbing uneven terrain, riding through the countryside, and performing scenes in unpredictable weather conditions. O'Hara approached Mary-Kate Danaher with remarkable energy. She never played the character as fragile, helpless, or dependent on others. Instead, Mary-Kate feels strong, stubborn, and completely capable of standing on her own. That attitude required more than dialogue. It required physical commitment. O'Hara moved through scenes with confidence and determination, giving the character a powerful presence that matched her fiery personality. This effort helped make the romance feel believable. Sean Thornton may have been a tough former boxer, but Mary-Kate never seems intimidated by him. She challenges him, argues with him, and refuses to back down when she believes she is right. That balance is essential to the story. Because O'Hara fully embraced both the emotional and physical demands of the role, Mary-Kate became far more than a traditional romantic lead. She became an equal force within the film, and audiences still remember her because of it. 9. The village of Cong became a tourist destination. Before The Quiet Man rolled into theaters, Cong was basically just this small place, a village in Western Ireland. Like a lot of other rural communities, it was sort of only known to locals, and maybe a few nearby travelers. Then, after the movie came out, everything shifted. Quite a lot, in fact. Suddenly, people all over were staring at the landscapes they had seen on screen, and they would ask themselves why not go there too, at least once. The film drew international attention not only at Cong, but also at nearby corners in County Mayo and County Galway. Visitors started looking around for bridges, little cottages, the village streets, even the exact pub locations, plus those scenic walking routes you can actually follow. They wanted to stand where John Wayne stood, to move along the same roads as Maureen O'Hara did, and to face the same settings that helped shape one of cinema's most cherished romances. What makes the whole thing so strangely lasting is the length of it. Years, decades really, have passed since the film was made, but tourists keep arriving anyway. Newer generations meet the story, rewatch it, and somehow Cong ends up inside their travel plans too. It feels like an odd fame. A calm Irish village gets tied, permanently, to a Hollywood production filmed more than 70 years back. And while so many movies disappear into foggy memory, The Quiet Man keeps pulling people back to the same countryside, like it leaves behind tiny footprints that just don't go away. 8. Tough on actors, but Maureen O'Hara stood up to him. John Ford was one of the most respected directors in Hollywood, but he was also known for being demanding. He expected excellence from everyone around him and was not afraid to criticize performers when he felt they were falling short. Many actors found him intimidating. His reputation alone was often enough to make people think twice before challenging him. Maureen O'Hara was different. She respected Ford's talent, but she was never willing to stay silent when she believed something was unfair, or when she strongly disagreed with an idea. If she felt a scene could be better, she spoke up. If she thought she was being treated unfairly, she stood her ground. That confidence made her one of the few performers who could push back against Ford without fear. Their relationship was not built on hostility. In many ways, it was built on mutual respect. Ford knew O'Hara was passionate about her work, and O'Hara understood that Ford wanted the best possible film. Their occasional disagreements often led to stronger creative decisions. 7. The movie almost wasn't made because of money problems. Today, The Quiet Man is remembered as a beloved classic, but when the project was first proposed, it looked like a major gamble. Kind of. Republic Pictures wasn't really known for lavish productions either. The studio had built most of its reputation on lower-budget films and westerns that could be produced efficiently. A romantic drama filmed in Ireland was far beyond its usual comfort zone, you could say. The costs alone were intimidating. Filming overseas meant transporting actors, crew members, equipment, and supplies across the Atlantic, not a small thing. Then there was Technicolor photography. That part was significantly more expensive than standard filmmaking methods at the time. Overall, the scale felt much larger than what Republic typically attempted. John Ford believed in the story, but selling the idea to the studio was not easy at all. Eventually, a deal was reached. Republic agreed to back The Quiet Man only after Ford, John Wayne, and Maureen O'Hara first completed Rio Grande for the studio. That successful film helped build confidence, and it kind of opened the door for Ford's passion project. 6. The film's colors looked almost unreal. When The Quiet Man was first released, not everyone was impressed by its visual style. Some critics argued that the colors were too bright, too polished, and too beautiful to be believable. The green fields seemed richer than reality. The skies looked dramatic. The villages appeared almost storybook-like. To certain viewers, Ireland looked less like a real place and more like a carefully painted fantasy. Ironically, that was exactly what John Ford wanted. He was never trying to create a strict documentary version of Ireland. His goal was something far more emotional. Ford wanted audiences to experience the Ireland that existed in memory, imagination, and family stories. He wanted viewers to feel the romance of the place, rather than simply observe it. For Ford, Ireland was tied to heritage and longing. It represented the homeland of his parents and the traditions that shaped his childhood. Because of that personal connection, he chose to present the country through a warmer and more nostalgic lens. 5. John Ford changed the script while filming. Most movies start with a script and finish by sticking to it as much as they can. But The Quiet Man sort of went sideways, kinda. Even though Frank S. Nugent's screenplay gave the foundation, John Ford didn't lock himself in. He stayed open to adjustments even during production. After he made it to Ireland, he let the actual locations do some of the steering, like they had a say in how the story would play out on screen. Ford really watched everything: the rolling countryside, the weather that kept changing, the narrow village roads, and the faces of local residents all blended together to shape the film's mood. Sometimes one place pushed him toward another camera angle, and sometimes the atmosphere suggested a better way to stage a scene. Instead of forcing Ireland to match the script, Ford frequently did the other thing. He let the script shift to fit Ireland, and it sounds simple, but it isn't. That method gives the film a natural quality that's hard to fake. The world feels inhabited because it was inhabited. The landscapes don't just sit there as backgrounds, they actively nudge the tone and the timing of the story, whether you notice it or not. 4. The final scene was almost different. Many classic films end with one final surprise, a dramatic confrontation, or a last-minute twist designed to leave audiences stunned. The Quiet Man takes a different approach. After all the arguments, misunderstandings, pride, and emotional battles, the story chooses something much simpler. It chooses peace. By the time the ending arrives, Sean Thornton and Mary-Kate Danaher have already faced their greatest challenges. The real conflict was never about action. It was about trust, respect, love, and the willingness to understand one another. Those struggles carried the emotional weight of the story, making another dramatic climax unnecessary. John Ford understood this perfectly. He knew the audience did not need louder moments or bigger spectacles. They needed resolution. They needed to see two stubborn people finally find common ground after fighting so hard to get there. That emotional payoff is what gives the ending its lasting power. 3. The film was Republic's costliest gamble. By the standards of Republic Pictures, The Quiet Man was a massive undertaking. The studio was accustomed to producing smaller and more economical films, yet this project demanded something entirely different. It required location filming in Ireland, expensive Technicolor photography, major Hollywood stars, a large supporting cast, and a visual style far more ambitious than Republic's typical productions. The scale of the movie continued to grow as filming progressed. John Ford was determined to create the film he envisioned, even when that meant pushing beyond normal expectations. The finished picture eventually reached approximately 2 hours and 9 minutes, longer than what the studio originally preferred. For a company focused on efficiency, that added length represented another layer of risk. Fortunately, the gamble paid off in spectacular fashion. Audiences embraced the film, critics praised its storytelling and visual beauty, and it became one of Republic Pictures' greatest achievements. The Quiet Man also earned Academy Award recognition and strengthened Ford's reputation as one of Hollywood's finest directors. 2. Wayne and O'Hara's friendship sparked chemistry. One of the biggest reasons The Quiet Man continues to captivate audiences is the chemistry between John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. Their connection feels natural, effortless, and genuine. That did not happen by accident. The two actors shared a strong professional relationship and deep mutual respect, which gave their performances a level of comfort that audiences could immediately sense. What made their pairing especially effective was their willingness to embrace conflict. Many romantic films soften disagreements to make relationships appear perfect. Wayne and O'Hara did the opposite. Sean Thornton and Mary-Kate Danaher argue, challenge each other, and refuse to back down. Their relationship is passionate because it feels unpredictable. Neither character simply gives in to the other. That approach worked because trust, already existed between the actors. They knew how far they could push a scene without losing its emotional core. They could be playful one moment and fiercely confrontational the next. The shifts felt believable because both performers were confident in each other. Their friendship made the romance feel real. This last fact reveals the hidden transformation behind his unforgettable performance. 1. Finn learned an Irish accent for parts of the film. Before The Quiet Man, audiences knew John Wayne as the ultimate American hero. He was the tough cowboy, the fearless fighter, and the larger-than-life figure who rarely showed weakness. That image made Sean Thornton a surprisingly challenging role. Instead of playing a confident Western legend, Wayne had to portray an Irish-born man returning home while carrying emotional wounds from his past. To make the character believable, Wayne softened many of the traits that had made him famous. Sean is strong, but he is also cautious. He carries regret. He avoids conflict when possible. There are moments when he hesitates, doubts himself, and struggles with painful memories. Those layers gave the character a depth that audiences were not always accustomed to seeing from Wayne. He also adjusted his speech and mannerisms to fit the role. Rather than behaving like a cowboy who had wandered into Ireland, Wayne worked to create the feeling of someone reconnecting with a forgotten part of his identity. Small changes in his voice, posture, and reactions helped support that transformation. The Quiet Man was never just a romance filmed against beautiful Irish scenery. More than 70 years later, audiences are still discovering its charm and hidden stories. Which fact surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more secrets behind classic Hollywood films, and be sure to watch the next video appearing on your screen for another fascinating behind-the-scenes story.